Welcome to Becoming Limitless. This is the podcast for entrepreneurs who want to optimize their brain and their body with biohacking. I'm going to teach you how to eliminate brain fog and upgrade your health so you can have more productivity, energy, and growth in your business. I'm your host, Tanessa Shears. Let's jump in. Welcome back to the Becoming Limitless podcast and happy almost New Year's. We're a couple of days out from 2023. I've got a bunch of my planning done and I bet you've got some targets set for 2023 as well. But here's where I want to be really straightforward. If we can't get focused and if we are distracted by every shiny object, and I'm talking about the Amazon tab we have open right now, or maybe it's the Instagram posts that are distracting us, or maybe it's every time your phone goes off. We know that if we keep getting distracted like this, our health is going to slide right off the plate again, and we're going to end up in the same spot next year. And I don't know about you, but 2022 was a big year of working very hard in my business and recovering postpartum and all of that. But for you, if this is the year you finally want to decide to find that edge, and I'm talking about the edge between high-performing CEO and CEO that cares about their health and prioritizes their well-being, if you want to find that edge, then this is going to be the episode for you. So last week on the podcast, I aired part one of a two-part series, a masterclass that I actually aired last year called Your Best Year Yet. And last week we were talking all about 4 areas to set health habits in, like the what, right? Like what do we set the health habits in? But that's only part of the conversation. And we're having the second part of that conversation this week and talking about who you need to be to get that done. And how are we going to do that? We're going to do that by cleaning up your space. And I'm not talking about the closet or the pantry that you've been dying to reorganize as part of the new year, cleanup. I'm talking about the space that you create in your health and your brain and your business that is protected from things in your environment that cause you to lose focus on your vision, that cause you to doubt yourself and become distracted, right? So we're going to go through today and clean up all of that stuff that's distracting you and making you lose focus on your future and your health. All the things that are causing you to become distracted and doubt yourself. You don't have time to get distracted. We got to get a move on this year. So you'll learn how not to fall off the wagon this year and get caught up in the busyness of your business. So we're going to be discussing how to clean up your space and clean up your standards with your relationship with your phone, your self-worth, and how the standards are that you hold for yourself. Your space, including your physical surroundings, your desk, your office, and of course, cleaning up how you have a relationship or maybe a lack of with time management and your time. So if you have not listened to part 1 of this masterclass, jump back to last week's episode. It's called 4 Habits to Eliminate Brain Fog. And then this week, we are talking all about how to eliminate distractions. I can't wait for you to jump into this episode. We are going to be talking about this concept that I'm obsessed with called a clean space. So if you want to be able to think clearly, to make decisions quickly, to stay in peak performance, we have to keep a clean space. Now, what is a clean space? It is a space that you create for your health, for your brain, and for your business that is protected from things in your environment that cause you to become distracted, to lose focus on your vision, and to doubt yourself. So we need to look at all of the things that are entering into our environment that will cause us, like I said, to lose focus on what we say we want today. Because that is what we don't address. We allow ourselves to become so distracted by everything. Honestly, everything from like dings and pings on our computer to television. We end up avoiding how we feel. Like all of this just ends up creating a really cluttered space. And I want you to think about like walking into a room, let's just say, and there are stacks of stuff and papers and boxes up to your waist. And you're trying to get to the desk in the middle of that room. And it's so distracting and it's just in your way for you to get to the end goal. That is a cluttered space. I want you to think of a clean space. And with this, we're not talking about your floor in your office, although for some of us we might be. However, We're going to be going through 4 areas that I think need the most attention for entrepreneurs when it comes to cleaning up. And we're going to go through some questions to ask yourself, some things to consider. And I really want you to be taking an inventory of all of these and noticing where these things are detracting from the life that you have envisioned for yourself. The feelings that you think you want to feel, whether that be calm or present or free, like whatever it is that you want in your life that comes from having a healthy lifestyle and a successful business. What is blocking that and muddying up that space? So we want to be able to access the greatest potential in ourselves, right? And the highest potential for us as a CEO. And that's going to require a clean space. So we're doing an inventory and we're doing it together. So think of the habits that you just set. You probably, at least have an idea for a couple, if not all 4. What is going to stop you from having excellent health? What is going to stop you from having a sharper mind, or feeling more present, or being more well-rested, or being more energized? Anything that came up as an answer to those questions are things that we need to clean up. So the area we're going to start cleaning up with first is your phone, because this will be a really easy one for you to see what I mean by cleaning up, so that when we apply it to the other sections later, you're like, oh, this totally makes sense. Okay, so we're talking about our phone. We all have one. Some of us have 2. I have 2, and I'll tell you why in a sec. But when we're looking at our phone and we're cleaning up our space so that our phone does no longer become a source of distraction in our business, and when it comes to our health habits and the health habits you just set, the first question I always like to ask myself is, are the apps I have on my phone distracting me from either being present or working? Like, think about this. During your workouts, are you picking up your phone to scroll Instagram while you take a break? Or is it distracting you at all from work because you're flipping through Facebook? Are any of the apps on your phone distracting you from being present with your family and actually listening to them when they talk without you also being on your phone? So one thing that I like to do, and I always love to tell people about this, is, how when you got the phone you currently have, you probably, I know for me most of the time, there's nothing really wrong with our old phone. It's just maybe not working as much, or maybe it's just out of date, or we just wanted a new one. Well, that phone sitting around actually has a really neat purpose. I always have 2 phones. One is I call my life phone. On this phone, I have WhatsApp, I have messages, I have my phone calls, I have access to things like my Spotify account. I listen to my podcasts on there. I have a camera, you know what I mean? The stuff that you have in a daily life, right? Like those kind of apps. I have my fitness apps on there. My Peloton app is on there. My Fitbit app, my Oura Ring app is on there. All my health apps are on there. That is one phone. The other phone contains business. It contains Trello, Google Drive, Gmail, Instagram, Facebook, anything that has to do with work. So when I am done my work at the end of the day, I leave my work phone in the office. So that means when I take my other phone out into the world, I am not tempted to be engaging with work on non-work time. It is creating that boundary so that when I am at work, I am focused at work. When I am in my life, I am present and enjoying being present in my life. So what are the apps on your phone that are causing you to feel distracted, or constantly you're pulled to and you're not enjoying the time you're spending on them? So an option, honestly, delete them in its entirety. Or if you're someone like me and I need it for my business, get a second phone. Keep your work life in a place where you are not constantly being triggered and engaged by your job. All right, so that's number 1. Question number 2. Do you find yourself wasting time with your phone because it's just there? And the biggest way I see this with entrepreneurs is before sleep, meaning they hop into bed and they'll just scroll Instagram, just a sec, right? I'm just gonna do one more email check. Just gonna make sure my team hasn't contacted me one more time. And then that 2-second, just a quick check turns into half an hour, and you're staring into your screen and your brain is all stimulated and you have trouble falling asleep. You wake up during the night, you stay there looking at the ceiling, your stress is elevated the next morning, you wake up with brain fog. Are you wasting time on your phone because it is just there? Another one, Wake up in the morning, grab your phone to turn off your alarm, scroll Instagram for half an hour. That time that you're wasting, or what about on your lunch breaks? And you're just scrolling it because you need to numb out with your mind, or you're waiting in line at the grocery store, scrolling your phone because we can't wait for 30 seconds and, just be in our lives and our bodies anymore. So I always ask myself, like, is this something I need to clean up? Am I wasting time on my phone because it is just there? And then another question I like to ask is, do the notifications on my phone, are they disrupting your workflow? So if I hear a notification go off during my workout, we know, science has shown that even if just the sound of a ding going off will pull our brain out of the focus state it is in. And it's fascinating, this feedback loop response that our brain has, where the urgency of hearing that ding elevates and elevates and escalates until we have to go answer it, or just see what it was, or just make sure it was nothing important. So our brains are geared to focus on it in the background, which detracts from being present and living our lives. So I want to know, is your phone going off during dinner? Do you see the blinking light flashing? Is it waking you up while you're sleeping? Like, all of these things are distracting you from having a healthy life where you feel present, fulfilled, and calm. So, it's really easy. I have all notifications turned off on my phone through the apps directly. So the only time I figure out if Instagram needs my attention is if I go into Instagram. I am making the decisions when I get distracted or when I interact with my apps. It is not the other way around. And as far as everything else, like my phone, and this is always an individual preference for everyone, my phone stays on silent all the time, because I want to choose when I interact with my phone and not the other way around. And it's fascinating. Like, we are so hyper vigilant because of our phones. Like, think about this. Even when our phones are on silent and they are away, we have this hyper vigilance of like, I should probably check. I wonder if there's a message waiting for me. I wonder if a client has reached out. I wonder if somebody needs me. I wonder if there's a fire happening somewhere. You know what I mean? Like, we genuinely think this. I wonder if somebody's responded to my message. How many people have liked that post? Was it a good post? Did I do a good job? Like, we are hyper vigilant because we cannot disconnect. And that hyper vigilance is causing our body to stay in constant overdrive and cortisol, which is affecting your sleep, which is making you crave crappy food all the time, which is making you think, oh, if I just work a bit harder and skip this workout or stay up late, skip my sleep, I can get this done and I won't feel so stressed out. That's just not how it works. We are feeding into that hypervigilance, and we need to make sure we are creating that space. Lastly, I like to ask with my phone, is my phone always within arm's length reach? Think about this. If you're watching TV, could you reach out and touch your phone? If you're working, could you reach out and touch your phone? If you're eating dinner, could you reach out and touch your phone? That temptation to me just means that we are uncomfortable with that separation. And the more it is there, the more it's going to act as a temptation for me to just reach over there and just, secretly check my email under the table at dinner. That's not who I want to be. Remember, we said it's not about the what, it's about who you're being. I personally don't want to be that, because that's not, when I picture my life and being free and being present and at peace, I did not picture having my phone in my hand under the dinner table. Didn't do it. And not to mention that your phone spits out all kinds of disgusting electromagnetic frequencies, waves, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth. Like, we don't know the long-term effects of having that practically attached to our bodies all the time. So just a little bit of space, try an hour a day, try just while you're working, create that space. And this is really what I like to look at. And with the phone specifically, you're wanting to ask yourself questions like this, like, how much time are you wasting per day on your phone? Like, be honest. What would we rather fill that time with? Like, make a list. Would you rather be doing meal planning or exercising or sleep more or read a book? Like, what are the things you don't make enough time for, but would love to make time to do? And how much of that time that we said that you're just on your phone because it's there before bed, when you wake up in the morning, on your lunch hours? This is why we don't feel fulfilled, or why we tell ourselves, I don't have time for health, when we're just replacing it with something that doesn't have the same value. So I'd like you to think about, what would you rather be doing with your time? Who would you need to be in order to not need your phone to entertain you all the time? Because that phone is a huge source of time wasting, which is what makes us tell ourselves we don't have time to work out. When really, if you go onto Instagram, it has a feature, you can Google on how to do it. If you go on there and look at like minutes per day, Most people's are above 40 minutes, 45 minutes. I don't know about you, but 20 minutes of a workout sounds great. You can still do 20 minutes on Instagram, but it's really taking accountability of that time. So that's the first area we really need to clean up. What about your relationship with your phone do you need to clean up in order to have your best year yet in 2022? Okay, second area. Now that you kind of understand the concept of cleaning up, we're going to get a little more meta here. Your standards. Oh boy, I'm guilty of this. We all are. We need to clean up our standards in our life and with ourselves. Because I mean, I have a really interesting view on hard work. I feel that lately, the whole hustle and hard work has been demonized, where if you are working hard and hustling, you're doing it wrong. And I think what's happening is the words hustle and hard work are getting confused with burnout, lack of attention to health, being out of integrity, not allowing time to be and feel. Because I believe that you can work hard and that you can hustle in the given time that feels good when you allot to work. It doesn't mean you hustle on your family time or hustle instead of working out. It just is a feeling you have while you're dedicated to your craft, right? And so when we talk about standards in general, I'm really a big fan of having high standards for myself, because I love the feeling of having high standards because of what it has created in my life, with my relationships, with my business, with my family, with my wealth portfolio, like all of these things. And your standards are going to be different than mine. That's the thing. But I think honoring those standards and making sure that they're incorporated on a regular basis, we're making our decisions from them, are what are going to help you be the who you need to be showing up as, and not just the what you need to be doing. So first question I like to ask, do you have standards for yourself and how you show up in the world? Are you on time? And remember, these are all subjective standards. Just because I value being on time doesn't mean you have to. These are examples, right? Are you on time for your client calls and your meetings? Are you on time with paying your team? Are you on time with sending out things and creating posts that you said you were going to do? Do you show up to your life in a way that you like? Like for me, when I do these master classes like this, I like to show up clean. I like to show up fresh. I like to show up sharp, clear, and energized. I like to have my hair done. I like to have my makeup done. I like to have worked out in the morning so that I know that my body is at its peak for energy. This is my standard for showing up on these master classes, as well as with my calls with my clients. Now, does this mean I get fancy dressed up every day? No, Thursdays I don't get out of my pajamas, and it's great and I love it. However, do you have standards for your positivity, or your attitude? Do you have standards for your health? Is there a minimum that you are not willing to go below? For me, it's 3 by 20-minute workouts. It's 6,000 steps. Most of the time when I'm not pregnant, it's no sugar, no flour during the week. It's phone away by 5 p.m. It's in bed by 8:30. Those are the standards I have with my health. And when I uphold my standards, I love who I'm being. And when I love who I'm being, I show up to those habits again and again even better. And then I get the result that I want. And then I'm living the life that I live. So do you have standards? And if not, how could you add some? How could you clean up some areas that have gotten sloppy? Are you easily distracted at work? Do you spend too much time on your phone? How do we clean up those areas in our standards? Another one, are you reliable? Do you do what you say you're going to do? And I don't just mean with the people on your team, in your work environment, your clients, or your customers. I mean with yourself. Do you plan a workout and do it? Do you make a meal plan and follow through? Do you say you're going to go to sleep on time and do it? What is the standard you have for how reliable you are to yourself? Do you take time off? This is a critical skill, right? And this is a thing that I find that we have great standards for ourselves and being reliable in our business. We get the stuff done. We get the meetings done. We get the client reports done. It's all good. But we don't carry that over to our health. We don't have the same standards of showing up for our workouts and, our meal planning that we have for our business. So one of the conversations I love to have with my clients, and I consider, having this conversation with yourself, is what makes me so reliable in my business? That skill, find it. What is it? What thought are you thinking? What standard do you have? Why do you show up like that for your business and not for your health? How can you take the skill that you have in your business of showing up, of completing things on time, of being on time for your calls, on not missing your calls, or whatever it might be that your work that you do? How can you apply that over here to your health? Is it because it's calendared? Is it because it's non-negotiable? Is it because you value how you think about yourself when you show up? Like, what is that skill that makes it so easy to be reliable in your business? Now you just need to carry that over. And as part of that is self-assessment, doing some writing, doing some thinking, going on one of those thinking walks, because if you can access that, you are going to be unstoppable in being consistent with your health. It is that who are you being in your business? Take that, a who, and apply it to who you are being in your health. Find out what is working in your business and replicate it. Next, standards. How do you treat your body? What is the standard for how you treat your body? Because here's an interesting thing that I observe, and I've been guilty of it. Do you treat your body like a trash can on the weekends? Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Do you overdrink? Do you overeat? Do you overindulge? Do you throw all health out the window? Or maybe, I don't know, maybe it's Wednesday nights for you. But do you have a standard for how you treat your body? Meaning, like, 70% of the time, do you care about how you eat? Or 70% of the time, do you care if you get off the couch? You know what I mean? Or is it 80%? Or is it 50%? And like, here's the thing, if you're at 50% right now, set it at 60%. It's not about perfection. It's not about going for 100%. It's about improvements over time, layering it in. If you are 50%, what I call treating our bodies like trash cans, eating garbage, not moving, can you get to 60%, right? It's about those incremental improvements. What is the standard for how you treat your body? Do you, I don't know, do you keep yourself clean? Do you shower? Do you do a skincare routine if that's important to you? Do you moisturize? Like, what is treating your body with respect to you? For me, it's washing my face at night. I love doing that now. I used to hate it. It's putting on my night cream, which just feels good. It's having clean pajamas. It's getting to bed on time. It's, having fresh hair when I do these calls. Like, that is that standard for my body. So good one to ask. And the last one we're going to talk about as far as standards is, what inputs do you allow into your life? What is the standard for the inputs into your life? So think of things like this. Does your day contain time or large amounts of time where your inputs are negativity in the form of news, in the form of reading articles or scrolling a feed of things that are catastrophizing things, or fear, or making you feel panicky or unease? Like, what is the input we are allowing into our brain? What is the poison that we are allowing into our brain? And this can be in the form of people too. Like, are we around people that complain nonstop? Are we around people that tell you you'll never do it, you're not good enough, you're not worth it? Are we around those type of people? What are the inputs that we need to clean up? Because I can guarantee you, if you have people in your life that are always saying, you're so lazy, is this your new workout routine? Oh yeah, you're trying to eat healthy now? Okay, is this like a New Year's thing? If you have those people in your life, and that is a standard that you accept, that is something that needs to be cleaned up. And this does not mean necessarily that we need to eliminate people, but we need to just set boundaries for ourselves and protect our energy, right? Because these are all things that influence whether or not we follow through on our health habits. If we have a partner that's always like, oh, why do you always go to sleep so early all the time? Or, oh, why do you always want to eat that green stuff all the time? Like, I've heard a lot of this from all my clients, right? Like, why do you want to eat so healthy? Can't you just relax? Like, if we have people like this negative input, people that are, remember, distracting us, causing us to lose focus on our vision or to doubt ourselves, we need to clean up that space, because if you leave that in place, you will struggle with consistency, because you will always be battling those things. Like, we just make the decision that this is who we are, and we don't tolerate that kind of behavior anymore. And that's something I think that has been a big change for me over the last 5 years, is just no longer tolerating people that don't want the best for me. They don't have to agree with what I think, what I do, who I am, how I run my business, but they just have to let me be me and not try to pull me down all the time. And that's just something I will not tolerate anymore. Like another example is I have a client and she really is excited about doing her workouts and everything like that. But she finds that she always comes into sessions and is having a hard time with her body image and accepting the way her body looks because her Instagram account is filled with fitness models and fitness pages where everyone is posed just so they look the leanest and they just show their best days of eating and all of that kind of stuff, and they don't tell the mess. And every time she goes on Instagram, all she does is compare herself. This is the type of negativity input. Like, why are we following people? Why are we following social media? Why are we following news that makes us feel bad about ourselves? Because I can tell you what the result is of not liking your body, not feeling good about yourself, and feeling, lack of vision and focus and doubting yourself. You know what the result of that is? You quit. I don't know anyone who doubts themselves all the time and is consistent and has the life they want. So really looking at what the inputs are. And then most importantly, when we're talking about the inputs in our life, how do you speak of yourself? I'm an all or nothing person. I'm on and off the wagon. I can't do this. I'm not disciplined enough. It's too hard. I don't like rules. Your thinking, how you speak of yourself. When you say one of those people that I'm not organized, I'm not a morning person. When you put these labels on yourself and you speak this of yourself, it is more powerful than having a room full of people telling you you're not good enough. So we really need to do an inventory and the standard in our life with how we speak of ourselves. I do not tolerate any language in my brain which tells me I'm not good enough, I can't do it, I can't try, I'm not, willing to do hard things. I need to monitor how I think about myself, and I refuse to speak of myself and tell myself I don't know how to do something, I'm not good at something. Like I used to say all the time, I'm just not a tech person. So every time I had to approach a damn tech thing, which happens all the time in my business, I would always be like, okay, I'm getting ready to be confused again. Why? And you know what I realized when I stopped telling myself that? I've figured out a lot of tech stuff. I'm actually pretty good at it. I'm not a tech genius, but I'm not bad at it. What are you telling yourself? You're just not that type of person. I'm just not flexible. I'm just not a vegetable person. I'm not a this, I'm not a that. Why do you tell yourself that if that's not what you want to be? Beware of the input and how you speak of yourself, because that is one of those standards that if you hold that at its highest, almost more than anything else, you will feel so much differently about your ability to be consistent and see your goals through. So clean up our standards. We've got to clean up our phone. We're going to clean up our standards. Okay, we've got 2 more areas to get through. So I hope this is really having you see that it's nothing to do with the health habits, right? It's really not. The how is great, and it's important to know the how specifically, and so that you're not wasting your time doing stuff that doesn't work, but really it's about who we need to be. So let's go into our next one, your space. This is talking about our physical space. You know how we give the example of a really messy room in the beginning? So let's talk about how we can clean up our space. And a lot of it applies to just your health in general. So let's talk about your kitchen. If I walked in there right now, is it filled with food that poisons you or food that nourishes you? Would you open your cupboard and what would you keep in there? What would you knowingly eat if you could redecide in that moment based on the goal you just set? We want to look in there and ask ourselves, am I bringing junk food into the house? Am I buying it on purpose? Am I ordering crap food when we order from takeout? And I'm not saying, keep in mind, this is not all or nothing. It doesn't mean you shouldn't have any junk food in your house. It doesn't mean you should never order pizza, because we have pizza too. But look at our overall, the way we're living and the way we're conducting our standards here in our space. Are we ordering garbage food in all the time? Are we planning junk food into our week? Or heck, are we not planning at all? So if we look at our kitchen and our space and our cupboards and the foods we bring into our home, can you clean that up? Right? Is there something in your cupboards that every time you open and see it, you end up grabbing 4 of them? Is it Christmas cookies? Is it something else, right? Is that there, and is it serving you or not? Can we clean up that space so that it is not something that you entertain as an option if you don't want it to be an option? All right, next one, your workspace. Is it cluttered? Does it allow for focus or mental wellness? So this comes back to stress, because our brains, when we see a desk that in an office that is full of stuff, right? So we're coming back to our stress habit. Every time our brain sees all of this stuff, our brain needs to name it and process it. I see right now, because, just before we started this class, I see a cup of water, I see a lip gloss, I see a phone, I see headphones, I see a notebook, I see a computer, like there's all of this stuff. And the more stuff we have in our environment, the more our brains need to process it. So it is a fantastic thing. And I've noticed this over the years as I have gone from being a maximalist to a minimalist. And I have started selling off stuff I don't need. I've stopped purchasing stuff I don't need. Is that when my environment is relatively clutter-free and clear, my propensity for becoming overwhelmed decreases. I'm less quick to overwhelm because my brain is not processing so much. So when a problem comes up in my life, I have the space in my brain to deal with it, to think about it, not to hide from it. I find that my brain does not already feel overwhelmed and exhausted. So ask yourself, can you see your desk surface? It's a good one, just a simple one. Can you find everything you need when you want it? When you're working? Or are you spending time digging through drawers trying to find a pen? Like, is it there? Do you know where it is? Is it working? Do you spend time refreshing and tidying your space? So something I've really gotten into is at the end of every week on Friday, I reorganize this drawer behind me that has the pens in it if it gets a little crazy, and I make sure my desktop is white and clear, completely clear, except for anything like, keyboard, the microphone, and my monitor. Do you spend any time taking care of your space so that when you show up again the next day, you feel focused and you don't get distracted and you can get good work done? So this is a really good one. When it comes to your bedroom, is your bedroom optimized for excellent sleep so that your mind gets the recovery it needs during the night and your body gets the recovery it needs during the night, right? Like, is your bedroom set up for sleep? And here's 4 criteria you can ask yourself. Is it dark? Are there flashing wing-ding lights? Is the television on? Do you have blinds which the sun comes through in the morning and wakes you up in the summer? Or is there a bright neighbor's porch light that comes into your window? Is it dark? Dark, dark, dark is amazing for sleep. Number 2, is the soundscape neutral? If you have a partner that snores, if you have kids, if you have a pet, chances are there are noises that are unexpected in the middle of the night. Even if like a car drives by, a bunch of teenagers are hanging out in front of your house, like all of these noises that are happening are able to disrupt your sleep. And especially because our brains are most easily pulled out of sleep in those early morning hours, those 3 to 4 hours before we wake up. We want to protect those fiercely. So how can we eliminate those? Do you need a sound machine? Do you need earplugs? Do you need a fan going? Do you need to mitigate the noises? Do you need to make sure the animals are out of the room? What is it? How can you clean up that space, right? The environment. Is it cool in your bedroom, or are we overheating at night, right? Is the air clean? Do you have the windows open at any time during the day? Or is it stuffy and stagnant air? Are your sheets clean? All of that kind of stuff, right? Your environment. And lastly, are you comfortable? Do you have a pillow that makes you feel good? Or do you wake up with a sore neck? Is your mattress sacked and do you roll to the middle and can you hear a spring when you roll over? Like, these are all good things that you're asking about your comfort. Like, are your PJs causing you to sweat at night? Or are they creating lines, where your waistband is and, restricting your body from removing the garbage fluid from your body? Like, these are all things we need to consider. Are you comfortable? So is your bedroom optimized for excellent sleep? How can you clean up that space to enhance the way your brain gets to recover during the night? Do you have space in your home to move, stretch, or meditate? And this is not something like, do you have a gym that you can go to? Or do you have a space outdoors or at the park where you know that you can move your body? Or do you have an area in your home or a home gym? In our last home, we needed to actually move my husband and I would have to pick up a kitchen table, move the office chairs out of the way because my kitchen and my office or one, and then we'd have to kind of like budge the baby swing out of the way to get a workout in. And like, do we have a space in our home, an area to stretch out, to move between calls? You know, not necessarily always to do a hardcore workout, but just to lay down and meditate or do a little bit of yoga or do your workout, right? And do you have quiet spaces in your house? It can be in your car, in your office, in the shower. Maybe it's outside. Maybe it's in your closet. Like, are there areas where you can be alone with yourself and ask yourself, how am I feeling? Can I check in with myself? Because if you don't have an area that is either quiet or feels like a safe space for those things, you won't do it. So if you have an area that's dedicated for you and spending time on your health, you're much more likely to do it. So ask yourself that. So do I have the space to move and to stretch and to get my body moving if I need to? All right, so we looked at cleaning up our space. We talked about the kitchen. We talked about the bedroom. We talked about space to move. We talked about our desk so that we have mental clarity so that our stress stays low. The last category we're going to talk about is cleaning up how you use your time. And this is one of those things that I love talking about time management. It is fascinating how many different things work for different people. So some of the ideas I'm going to be sharing are what work really well for me specifically. But here are some of the questions I would ask myself around time and how I spend this time and if it is cleaned up or if I need to do a little work on it. So number one, am I being intentional with my time or am I wasting it on things that don't matter? Like if you think about your last 24 hours, are you happy with how you spent your last 24 hours? Do you like what you spent your time doing? Or do you feel that there was a good amount of it that was wasted? Inventorying, you know, are you happy with what you're doing? Do you have a way of assessing this? Like, do you track your time when you're trying to get the hang of what you're doing with all your time? Do you journal? Do you keep a to-do list? Do you block off your time? Or do you just kind of float through your day and hope that things get done and you just kind of go wherever your intuition leads you? Like, do you have a way of identifying if the way you use your time is something you're proud of? Do you know what your priorities are with your time? So I asked a client the other day, as far as knowing what your priorities are and how you want to spend your time, I'm like, do you want to work out? Because, I mean, if it feels like such a battle to get your workouts in, ask yourself, do you even want to? And she was like, yes, I want to. Yes, I want to work out during the day. That would be great. So then we know that you want to, we know it's a priority, and I think it's just understanding it's a priority, right? You have to want to do these things that are with your health, not just because you think you should, right? So it's really going down to understanding, asking yourself, like, why do I want to move? Well, because I know that it makes my body feel healthier, and I feel more energized when I do it, and my stress is lower, and when all that happens, I'm a happier person. I show up in my business differently, right? Like, how often are you revisiting what your priorities are and how much time you're allocating to those priorities? And the last one in here, do you plan your day ahead of time? No, it's really fun. I love talking to people about planning their time because I feel like people fall into one of two camps. There's people that love to structure and plan their day, and there's people that are like, it feels so rigid and like restrictive and it feels constraining, right? And I love that because that, for me, is the point. I like the constraint because it allows for freedom. Think about this. Like, I plan my day so that I have, you know, an hour to work on this project. And then in this hour, I work on this. And then in an hour, I have a whole hour for my lunch hour where I can read a book, watch some Housewives, eat lunch, have a nice, you know, afternoon. I plan in my workouts. Like, because I plan in my work time and my workouts and my meal planning and my sleep, because that is also structured, I also plan in my free time, meaning after 5 p.m., I'm free. I can do what I want to do. I can focus on the people I want to focus on. I can be the person I want to be. I can spend it with my family. I love this. This is why I plan my time. So that the time that I want to be free, I don't have to be thinking I could probably be doing more work or I should probably be working a little more. No, I planned that time and then I planned the time off so they don't collide. I don't mix them up. I don't think I should be working when I'm not, you know? I don't think I should be with my family while I'm working. Those are separate boundaries that I have, right? So I always balance, my planning blocks, my personal blocks, and sliding blocks. And sliding blocks are just blocks in my calendar where I leave them with nothing in it. It doesn't have work. It doesn't have family. It's just I can slide whatever I want into that block. If I didn't get the stuff done during the work week, I can slide it in there. If I did, I could slide it into family time or do another workout or anything I want. So I do like planning those in as well. But the other thing, are we planning in our workouts? Are we planning in our meal times? I find most entrepreneurs will miss lunch, work through lunch, not eat breakfast because they're working and they just forget about it. They get so caught up in what they're doing. I'm guilty of this sometimes as well. So actually knowing on my calendar that at 1 o'clock, if I have lunch planned, I get to have lunch then. And all I get to focus on is just downtime and lunch. And it's absolutely wonderful, right? Is your bedtime planned? Is your time off planned, right? You need to plan this stuff in. If you are a doer and you are stuck in the doing energy all the time, this stuff does need to be planned. We can't just hope that one day we'll start taking lunches. It's something we have to proactively do, right? And this is how, because I plan this stuff, this is how I gauge my discipline. If I look at my watch and it's 7:32 and my workout was supposed to start at 7:15, I'm now checking in and being like, okay, what is going on here? What did I tell myself to get myself off plan? So having said that, if we look at all the spaces that we cleaned up our phone, we spent some time cleaning up our standards, the space around us, cleaning up our time. All of these, if we go through these areas and recognize where we need a bit more cleanliness, let's just say, a bit more simplicity, a bit more guidelines so that we don't doubt ourselves, lose focus, or, not pay attention to our bigger vision. If there are things that are cluttering that space, we need to clean them up. We need to be intentional. So we need to be asking ourselves, how can I clean this up? Because it's not about all the what you're doing and how do I be more healthier and how do I grow my business. It's who you're being. And who you're being comes from how you have a space that is clean or not, or whether or not you have a space that is clean. And it all gets to work. You get to be the person you want to be and still have the results. It all gets to work. So I hope that has been really informative for you and helps you recognize why you might be struggling with staying consistent. It's not because you set the wrong habit. It's because the space around the habit was not clean enough for you to follow through without constantly slamming into roadblocks all the time, without constantly tripping over obstacles and things that don't work. And I didn't really think about how much time this would take. This helps you avoid that. And this is the magic of consistency. It's having a clean space. So I hope that has been a super helpful insight as to how I like to go about becoming the person who clears room in my life for the stuff that I want most. And one of those big things is my health. So we are going into 2023. And if you want daily accountability and a clear roadmap for high energy days, to have better sleep and to wake up and feel like you have control of your health, what you're eating, if you're getting your exercise done, if you want control of that, this is the perfect time to work together going into the new year. So if you're ready to stop guessing at what the heck you should be doing and have an expert like me walk you through the entire process in 2023, I want you to head to TanessaShears.com/call to book a free one-on-one consultation call. So on this call, here's what's going to happen. You're going to tell me what you're struggling with, and I'm going to ask you a whole bunch of questions to see if we are a good fit to work together. And if we are, I'm going to tell you exactly how I can help you get to your goal and being fully healthy, vibrant, and energized in your business with a lot less confusion and a lot faster. So get ready. 2023 is the year that you become limitless. I can't wait to watch you do it. Learn something new in this episode or feel inspired to take action? I'd love for you to share it with a friend and leave a review. Your review will help one more entrepreneur feel healthier, more energized, and focused. If you feel good about helping a friend or a fellow business owner you've never even met, you are my kind of people. I'm excited to help you become limitless in the coming episodes.